We're just two regular ass bitches from the coast. What is up, and welcome to Gym Girls Anonymous. We are your two unhinged gym besties. We are here to talk shit, get fit, and figure it out as we go. I'm Ronnie.
And I'm Lainey. Our goal is to have fun, share honest, unscammy fitness advice, and get a little bit real. Today we're going to talk about your metabolism, but first, let's talk some shit.
I think there is obviously a very new and innovative world of gym clothing. There was a lot of adjectives there, but wearing whatever you want to the gym is obviously a confidence booster builder. So don't take that with a grain of salt when I'm talking about this. What you wear to the gym is important. And if you're wearing the wrong thing, you're going to hurt yourself or make a fool of yourself. So I was driving the other day home from work, and there was a gentleman who was wearing sweatpants with basketball shorts over the sweatpants. Which I don't know why that bothers me so much, but just put the sweats or the shorts on first and then the sweats.
Interesting.
But I also don't know what the shorts are actually adding if they're on the outside. And I don't know. So that's just a whatever. But I was also seeing this girly pop wearing tennis shoes, running shoes. And she was on the Smith machine doing a bunch of stuff. That's wrong. You have to understand that your feet need to be able to do what they're supposed to do, and if you have a super cushioned shoe, it's not going to actually be able to do what it's designed to do, and you're going to probably strengthen the wrong thing and have imbalances and whatnot.
It always makes me think of this video I saw, a reel, and it was lifting in running shoes, and he's just wearing a Ziploc bag full of gummy bears.
Because that's kind of what it is. It's just don't have the flat cushion to really push and ground yourself, whereas when you're in the shoe, it's squishy and wobbly and you really have the ankle breaker possibility.
Yeah, figure out what's good for your body, but do pay attention to the differences between lifting shoes, running shoes.
You don't have to be super fancy. We just wear Converse to lift in, and then I have my running shoes specifically for walking and running in. It's not that hard. It's 2 pairs of shoes.
I have 3 pairs of shoes. I have a wide toe box, zero drop shoe for work that's flat because I live in a lunge at work. Then I have my Converse, which I can't wear to work because they're too narrow, so eventually they start to hurt my feet. And then I have my running shoes. I was talking to a client of mine. This is my hate. It was a new client. We were talking about strength training, and she kind of eyes me a little bit, gives me the up and down and goes, so what do you do? Just not eat carbs? You need to eat fucking carbs, okay? It's your body's main source of energy. Your brain literally needs it. And for the love of God, unless you have a medical conditioning and a doctor has told you to, you do not cut out any major food group. It was really kind of sad because this woman was nearly 70 and still struggling with her body image to such an extent that she was yo-yo dieting and going back and forth between keto and trying not to eat carbs and following this dogmatic skinny talk adjacent hubbub that left her literally convinced that to look the way I do, I must not eat certain foods. Let me tell you guys, outside of being vegan, I eat all the shit that I want, not in all the quantities that I want, but you need to eat, and carbs are not bad for you.
It's literally how your body has the energy to do certain things, everything, all things. If you don't have it, you're just lacking in a major way. It's really difficult too because a lot of that generation has been so ingrained with that of being oh, you gotta cut out carbs, gotta be this, gotta be that. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. The fitness world is so overwhelming and fucked. Just do what's best for you. That includes eating enough food, which actually is a perfect segue into what we're talking about today. How do you figure out how much to eat and where you stand with that? So, what that means...
We're going to talk about your TDEE. You've probably heard this term floating around, but your TDEE is your total daily energy expenditure, and this is how many calories you use to be you and to do everything that you do in a day. Everybody's TDEE is going to be unique to them, to their activity level, to their genetics, all that stuff, but we are going to give like a rough approximation or the average of these things. So it's made up of 4 parts, which collectively people will refer to as your metabolism, which is technically incorrect, but we're going to go along and just call it the metabolism today. Technically, your metabolism is only your BMR, or your basal metabolic rate, or your RMR, which is your resting metabolic rate, which would be the amount of calories that you burn if you were literally to just like lay on a couch all day and not move and just take in oxygen. But for this one, we're just going to refer to it as your metabolism.
Now, mind you, a lot of this information, at least to me, is going to be pretty new. This is not something I have delved into myself. I've only just recently started getting my own eating kind of under control, so this is my next step, is to kind of figure out what my baseline is, make sure that I'm hitting that, and or if I need to eat more or less or stay about where I'm at. So just bear with me. If I don't know what's going on, and you also, we're in the same boat, I'm going to ask questions if they come up. So that's just the honest truth right there. But first, we'll just kind of get into, and I'm, again, going to just read this so I don't butcher it. The BMR, or the RMR, is the basal metabolic rate, or the resting metabolic rate, which is what she was just talking about. This is technically the metabolism. Reading is hard. As if we didn't just spend this entire last week reading multiple hours for each day. So my eyes were like, can we be done with this? So that's just the same if you lay in bed all day. It's just what you do. Your heart's pumping. It's just what you're burning. The more energy than... Oh my god, this is gonna just... Maybe we should do this on a Monday and not a Friday, so by the end of the... we can start out fresh rather than like at the end of our banks, because
yeah.
Yikes. Wow. So
If you
sorry,
want,
not
you could
sorry.
just restart it like basal metabolic rate.
Well, all of that you've already read though, and so I realized.
Just skip down to the.
Yeah. I'll just jump into this next bullet point. Muscles use more energy than fat, so the more muscles you have, the higher your BMR will be. That's just the scientific way it works. This plus this equals that. A plus B, A squared plus B squared equals C squared.
Yes.
This makes up roughly 50 to 70% of your overall TDEE.
So 50 to 70% of your TDEE is going to be your BMR or RMR. And then the next 10% roughly is going to be TEF, the thermic effect of food. So this is the amount of calories that your body needs to digest and assimilate the calories that you consume. Fats use approximately 0 to 5% of their caloric value to digest. So if you consume 100 calories of fat, your body uses 0 to 5 calories to digest and assimilate. Carbs use 5 to 10%, aka 100 calories uses 5 to 10 of those calories to digest. Protein uses a whopping 20 to 30%, aka if you ate 100 calories of protein, your body uses approximately 20 to 30 calories to digest. This might seem like an exciting loophole. You're like, oh, I can just eat a shitload of protein and like it's basically free. No, it's not nearly as much of a hack as you think it is, and focusing on TEF alone will not hack weight loss, but skewing towards a high protein diet can help and is important, but it's mostly important because of the satiety effect. Protein, as we talked about in one of our other episodes, protein and fiber helps your body to feel more full, which is way more important than the handful of calories you might save by eating a ton of protein.
The next one we have is EAT, the acronym standing for Exercise Activity Thermogenesis. Now, this might be disappointing, but EAT, or the calories you burn, while actually working out make up the smallest portion of your TDEE, making up about only 5, maybe 10% if you're a little delusional. Let's not discourage this though. This is where you build your strength, the longevity of your muscles and the muscle density, and requires more energy than fat. So overall, increasing your muscle mass will raise your BMR,
which helps you burn more calories throughout the day. The last segment of your TDEE, aka incorrectly referred to as your metabolism, is your NEAT, or your NEAT, and this is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. This one is the real deal. This is your hack, okay? This is all the movement that is not EAT, or exercise activity thermogenesis. This is walking, fidgeting, standing, cleaning, posture, everything else. The amount of hand movement you see me doing right now, this is NEAT, okay?
Everything I'm doing over here is you're like, oh, you're fidgeting, and I'm like playing with my hair, my ear.
So NEAT is the most malleable, aka the most, the part of your TDEE that you have the most impact on. You can make it bigger or smaller based off of your habits. Walking more, standing over sitting, fidgeting, just increasing, moving around adds to your TDEE without increasing your body's demand for recovery. Because all of this little movement is low impact, you don't need to recover from it the way you need to recover from an exercise like a heavy lift or a run. NEAT makes up around 15% of your TDEE, but studies have shown that NEAT can vary into the 1,000 calorie zone from person to person. So if, for example, Ronnie's really active and I'm really sedentary in this makeup world we're talking about, Ronnie might burn an extra 1,000 calories a day compared to me, even if we were like the same size and weight, just because she moves around more. So the TDEE is very important. Also, just a little fun fact, it's been found that when you diet, so when you're in a calorie deficit for a sustained period of time, your NEAT drops automatically. And when you overeat, your NEAT automatically rises a little bit. This is your body's way to adjust the amount of spontaneous movement it is doing to keep some type of homeostasis with your energy input and output.
That's pretty interesting. Just like your body's like, well, we're not doing as much, so I'm going to make you feel like you need to do more. That's wild.
It's like if you're under fueling, your body's like, I'm literally going to stop fidgeting and stop moving around. I'm going to stop burning as many calories because you're not giving me enough to do anything. And then when you eat more, you're like, oh my God, I've got all this extra energy. Let me just like, ah!
But with that being said, your metabolism and your BMR don't really change a whole lot until you're in your 60s, a little bit older, and we'll get more into that a little bit later. But next, we're going to kind of get into fueling yourself and some of the things that come along with that. And yeah.
So I think the most important area to be as far as eating, if you're someone who wants to track or wants to have like a general idea of what your maintenance calories are, this is where you just kind of maintain. Like you're not trying to gain weight or lose weight. And this is where body can oh my gosh. This is where body recomp can happen if you're eating enough protein and training with progressive overload. So there's lots of calculators out there that can kind of tell you more or less rough ballpark estimate of what your daily caloric needs are. This will never be as accurate, however, as just tracking what you eat for 2 to 4 weeks and taking a daily weigh-in. Couple caveats here. If you're someone who can't track your calories because it might be triggering to an eating disorder or like you just don't want to, you can still track more or less what you're eating and how much you're eating and then track your weight. With your weight, like with tracking your weight, especially females, our weight can fluctuate so much in a day. Everybody's can, from like water to food to time of your cycle. So weight fluctuates a lot, but what you're looking for over these 2 to 4 weeks is an average. So on average, even if you're fluctuating day to day, 5 to 6 to 10 pounds, 1 to 2, whatever, as long as your average is more or less holding steady, then you're at your maintenance. If your weight on average is like jumping around, but your average is slowly creeping up, that's too much. You're not quite at your maintenance. If your average is slowly creeping down, too little, you're not quite at your maintenance either. Don't let your personal value get tied up in data from a scale. I cannot stress this enough, and I think we've made it pretty clear that like your importance, like who you are, is not tied into the numbers of these types of things.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll do you one, so not better because it's not better, but I don't regularly weigh myself. I try not to because I can see myself in the mirror. I'll look at myself, and see what the difference is. And I can tell, but I also do struggle with body dysmorphia. It's a very common thing for most people. Depending on what time of your cycle it is, you look different or better. Like, it's a whole thing. And so I recently actually did weigh myself, and it's different than what it has been in a while. And I try not to like let it bother me because like I can see what it reflects off the scale, but also to a degree, I'm not doing as much. It is thunder and lightning, blistering, all of it outside. So I'm not. It's just this time of the year. So I also am accepting of the fact that the wintertime, I'm gonna gain a little bit more weight because I'm not doing as much. And so I could make those adjustments. But I think right now I'm personally getting to a point where my eating is just getting more under control, and I have really set breakfast, lunch, and dinner, which novel concept, but that's pretty new within the last couple of months. So I'm obviously going to gain weight because I'm just clearly eating better. So I have to now take that next step and figure out where the disconnect is. And all I'm tracking at the moment is my protein. That's all I'm tracking because I did the math for my breakfast and my lunch yesterday, and I was like, okay, that's a lot, but probably not as much as what my TDEE is. So,
and I will say, I think women especially, we need to get a little bit more comfortable with seeing what's on the scale. Because let's just take, for example, like Ronnie, maybe she weighed herself once 2 months ago and once today. Okay, yeah. Let's just call it that. She could have, because we don't have all these averages and data points, like she could have stepped on the scale on a high day and then stepped on a scale on a high day. So like the average might be lower than the day you step on, which is why if you're going to use it as a data point, like you don't have to, but if you're going to, it's important to gather as much data as possible, right? Like scientific studies don't happen off of like 1 or 2 points of data. They happen off of as many as you can fucking collect.
I use for personally, I mean, and I know you do too, so I'll just speak for both of us, but Google Sheets, great resource for all of this tracking. I have the next 7 months pre-arranged for my protein goals and or whatever tracking, and so I will probably take that template, make it for the calories so I can start tracking that, and then the so on and so forth, and just kind of start from there. But it's mentally a lot to remember. It is what it is, but I just, the reality of the situation, take that next step.
And I did want to take a second here to talk about my recent experience with intentionally sitting at maintenance. So I think I mentioned this in the last one, but all last year, pretty much except for a couple of weeks here and there, I was more or less in a calorie deficit. Which increased binge triggers and all sorts of other shit because I was doing it wrong, which we're gonna share a lot about to try to make sure that anybody who's interested in doing something like this doesn't repeat the mistakes that I already made for you. But eating more was, first of all, there is a mental aspect of the game because you get kind of in this fucked up headspace where you're like chasing that number going down, down, down. And so when you see it like staying level and then your high days, you're like, oh my God. And then you're like, okay, no, we're right back where we are. Oh my God, no, we're up again. And like having your weight hold a steady average is kind of a mental game, and it's useful to realize that like that number is not me. I'm a lot more than that number. Like my body is the least fucking interesting thing about me. My lifts got better, my energy improved, I was sleeping better, recovery's better. So like I think that's an important takeaway, is that like eating enough is so helpful. And if you're experiencing some of the stuff we're going to talk about later, or some of the stuff we talked about last week, it might be beneficial to enter into a period of maintenance and like see what the fuck happens if for 12 weeks you just feed yourself properly.
And the way to find what your number TDEE should be is that you kind of just have to go to a website. There's plethora online. Some are better than others, but judge yourself pretty realistically. They give you little like boxes to base off your average body percentage. If you know because you have a scan, that's perfect. If not, just come close. Mine, I think, was maybe a little too low for what I actually do, because, you know, I was pretty, the answers were like, oh, do you only do 4 to 5 days a week? And I'm like, okay, well, it's actually 5 to 6, but there is none of that option. So like, just kind of go with that. And then I have that number. It's in the back of my head, but like, I don't, at the moment, don't really abide by it, but I know that that's where I need to at least be eating at or above.
Yeah. Which is why the best way to do it is to just track your food for several weeks. But I know that comes at the cost of like, I want stuff to happen now. I want to do stuff right now, right away. And it's like, okay, well, maybe you just fucking chill for a minute. Because knowing your maintenance calories accurately, maybe not just off a website, but like having tracked, will help you with calorie deficit, which I'm going to let Ronnie explain.
So that just quite literally means you are consuming less calories than what your body is burning. By doing that, it's also increasing the TDEE and decreasing the calories consumed. That's the same thing, just reworded. This is how you typically lose weight. So if you want to lose fat and not just weight, you need to focus on high protein and training so that you can burn the fat, and signaling your body that you need the muscle mass to keep pushing and keep going. If you're doing the same thing repetitively and you're triggering those, what's the brain?
Neurons?
Yeah, sure. I think that's what I was thinking of. It's automatically telling yourself, oh, I need to be stronger for this because we're doing this a lot. We're creating a habit.
If you don't eat enough protein and you're in a calorie deficit, like your weight's going to drop. But if you're not eating enough protein and you're not training, your body will decrease muscle mass and fat, which is not what you want, because then you look the fucking same, just smaller, which is what I experienced in the beginning of my calorie deficit last year. I was just focusing on my calories, not paying attention to protein, and by the end of it, I had lost 20 pounds, but I looked the exact fucking same, just smaller, because I was losing muscle mass and fat. I can promise you this, you would rather lose weight slower and maintain your muscle mass because you will look better at the end than you would chasing that high of the number just dropping.
And another thing too, I was going to say your wealth. That is so funny. Your worth does not come from how your body looks. And I genuinely can promise you that it's probably not going to make you feel any better if you get to that point really, really fast because you haven't done the work to feel like, for example, when I think about our progress, I think about, fuck yeah, dude, we have put in so much hard work over the last couple of years. I'm proud of where I am. It might not be exactly what I want, but we fucking have done this. If it would have been this much time, I would have been like, well, that sucks. I didn't get what I wanted. Then I'm still not satisfied. does that, like, the difference is very slight. Obviously, there's still maybe not a satisfaction at the end of it, but I can appreciate and I am proud of myself for the work that I've done rather than just being like, oh, trying to jump the process. It doesn't work like that. And that's, again, where all these influencers, kind of back to a couple episodes ago, our hate was, you're not going to change in 12 weeks if you've never done anything before. You can, sure, there will be differences, but it's going to be a longer process than that if we're really getting to the nitty-gritty things.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like we did our PR today, and I was looking back at the first numbers that I had written down when we very first started 2.5 years ago, and, like, my bench press is up 45 pounds, and, like, all these other things up 100 pounds, and it's like, we fought tooth and nail for that strength.
Yeah.
There was no cheating. And, like, yeah, we fucked up plenty along the way. I, like, wasted all of last year trying to figure a lot of this shit out. But it was hard fought. It was earned. It was learned. And, like, we're just going to keep getting better going forward.
Yeah, it was maybe not blood, but it was, well, no, blood, sweat, and tears went into this shit.
All of it.
All of it. So, yeah, because thinking back when the very first day when we tried to do a bench press, we did the bar. And it wasn't moving. Today we PR'd in, 110?
I did 100, which is my PR.
I think my technical PR
was 115. For today, it was 115, right?
I think it was only 110. I don't think I actually moved
I think you did 115. I didn't help you on
You're
that
right.
last one.
Yeah,
I yelled at you.
It doesn't show me the previous ones, but I think the last one I did was actually only 110 or 120, so it's not a whole lot of difference. Maybe I even lost some strength, but I'm not counting it as a loss. I'm counting it as more data, what I know that I need to focus on the next program that we're going to be building. I want more arm strength, so that's what I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to be realistic with myself and think, okay, is this actually an RPE of 8, or am I kind of lying to myself?
Am I actually pushing myself as hard as I should be? Or am I like, oh, that was hard?
Yeah, which is completely unrelated, but...
No, I think this is the perfect segue because we did our PR day, and I know, like, between the 3 movements that we do, deadlift, bench, and squat, I need to gain 65 pounds of strength. Like, I need to do that. And the way that you're going to build more muscle mass, guys, right, is maintenance. You can do this totally at maintenance, but for the purpose of this episode, you can also do a calorie surplus, which is having more incoming energy than outgoing energy. This is often used to build muscle, though some of it may be fat as well. If you're doing, like, a dirty bulk and just shoving as much food in your face as you fucking can, which is, like, you know, every high school boy's dream. Like, their initial introduction is like, I'm just gonna, like, and put on a bunch of muscle, but you're also gonna be gaining fat. Also, if you're not eating high protein and you're not training and you're not, like, being mindful of what you're intaking, this is how just straight up fat gain happens, is like you're in a calorie surplus. I did want to make a note about the calorie deficit. So you can obviously do this from eating less. The high end of a deficit should be like 500 calories below your daily intake. A moderate would be like 200. You can even go slower than that because you don't want to trigger binges. Pay attention to yourself, like, be really nice. But you can also achieve a calorie deficit. Like, let's say right now you're getting 3,000 steps a day. You can achieve a calorie deficit by moving more. So, like, look at your life and your NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, and decide if there are places where you can move more to create a calorie deficit, because if you can move more and eat the same and still get the results that you're looking for, that is going to be way more sustainable than just, like, eating less and less and less and less.
And realistically, it's a lot easier to add something than it is to take away. So if you're already at a very good, consistent eating on a good schedule, whatever it may be, adding a little bit more is, in my opinion, easier than trying to take away.
For sure.
Little sharp left, though, kind of not really, about this protein. It is becoming a capitalistic Tool.
Protein Pop-Tarts? Are you fucking kidding me?
I've had them. They're not bad. I would prefer to eat them over a regular Pop-Tart because it doesn't taste any different, but I'm also not counting it towards my protein goals because we've talked about it before in the... Please fill in the word because I cannot think about it. We talked about it before.
Chat, help.
No, oh my god. Okay, can somebody please help me figure out why the hell I always lose my train of thought or I can't fucking find the word because it drives me insane. No, but like the micros and macros. Fucking A. I knew it was an M.
Okay, I was like, I'm not picking
You're like,
up
I'm
not spelling what you're making.
No, but if the number of grams of protein, for example, is 70 grams, that's a lie. 7 grams. Add a 0 to the end of it. And if that number is not the same or less than what the calorie number is, it is not a good source of protein. So, for example, I haven't in a while, but I was consistently drinking a protein shake, 42 grams of protein, 210 calories. That is a phenomenal way to get protein. So just keep that in mind.
I've been trying to explain this to my husband because he'd be like, 3 grams of protein. I'm like, how many calories? He's like, 900. I'm like, okay.
Oh my god.
That was an exaggeration.
But you get it.
But the golden ratio for protein is 10-1. So 10 calories, 1 gram of protein. Tofu is the only thing I know off the top of my head in this exact moment. Extra firm tofu is 90 calories for 9 grams of protein. That is a perfect ratio. Yep. Obviously, especially with like protein powders and protein shakes and stuff, you're going to get an even better ratio. But if your focus is protein for a specific thing, you want to be at least kind of close to that ratio. Otherwise, you're just kind of wasting the calories, which your calories should not always be like for protein. You shouldn't always be like low calorie, high protein, this, blah, 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 blah. Sometimes you just need to fucking eat. But if your goal is to pay attention to the protein, that's the ratio you're looking for. Which brings us to signs of chronic underfueling.
Which we are both guilty of in different sense of the word. I mean, I personally just didn't have an appetite, didn't want to eat. Have slowly started to think it might have something to do with my hormones and my cycle because for the last year and change, I've had the implant and I've noticed in the last 6 months my eating has gotten better. But today and yesterday, I'm pretty sure I'm in my luteal phase and the eating is disgusting to me and I'm like, ooh, that's weird. That used to happen all the time. So now, why is it only happening these 2 days of the week? Of the month, So give yourself some time, pay attention to signs and whatnot, but that's just a little tidbit for a story.
You guys, what's the difference between a vitamin and a hormone? I can't make a vitamin, but I can make a... Yeah. Anyways, the signs of underfueling, I'm going to let Ronnie read through for us.
So we'll start with brain fog. Pretty easy there. Increased cuntiness.
You can tell if I wrote something because I love the word cunt.
Yeah.
I'll say
it. I just don't think about it when I'm typing these up. I think I said it 2 episodes ago. This bitch over here did some fucking work. So a lot of this, I just get to sit here and look pretty and read, and I clearly can't do one of those things. I can barely read.
Sure is pretty.
Oh god. The next one is always feeling sleepy. Hair loss or skin dulling. Poor sleep. There's a lot of different factors of poor sleep, so just kind of take that with a generalized poor. Increased anxiety or depression. Maybe more than just a normal, so to speak, seasonal depression. Things that roll around, holidays, whatnot. Just more of it that potentially normal. Some people are like, normal? I don't have any anxiety. I don't have any...
That must be nice.
Can I have some?
Did you have a good childhood? What was that like?
Oh, wow. Gastrointestinal distress. Sorry if that's happening to you. Maybe we should look into that with a medical professional. I cannot help you. And of course, if any of you have a uterus, you're gonna notice that your period says, bye, see ya. You're gonna lose your menstrual cycle because your body does not feel safe to let you have it. It's one of the biggest things that you look for. At least as a female, personally. That's what I've done. I think that's kind of, besides, again, having a fresh implant, there was a pretty large chunk where I didn't have my cycle, and I think that was due to all of the hard training I was doing this summer without sufficient fueling, even though I was kind of getting it, but I think my body was like, wrong. This doesn't feel right.
So you might notice that a lot of these signs of chronic underfueling overlap with the signs of burnout or doing too much that we talked about last episode. So on top of your stress management, it is always important to make sure that you're fucking feeding yourself properly. If all you're eating is goddamn Doritos, or you're not eating at all, or you're not hydrating, or all you're drinking is caffeine, I highly suggest you pay attention to what you're fueling your body with. I was feeling really inflamed the last couple of weeks, and so I started looking, what the fuck am I been eating? A lot of wheat and processed protein sources. As a vegan, sometimes when I'm chasing those protein goals, I lean heavily on processed food, and I was like, okay. So I was like, all right, something's got to change. Looked at my diet, made some adjustments, have been eating like that for this week, and so far it's been amazing. I've really been leaning into my 70s hippie aesthetic food vibes, and I've been noticing less swelling, less blah blah blah. So pay attention to your body and be comfortable experimenting with your nutrition and your training and your rest, because that's what you fucking need.
And as somebody who isn't the biggest fan of cooking, it is difficult to find unprocessed food that is actually beneficial to you and your health. So there does have to be the balance of figuring out how to just fucking do it and cook yourself some good food, or, I think Factor's an okay meal. It is what it is. I don't really know where it's coming from, but it looks like a piece of chicken breast, so I like to assume that it is what it is. But again, I didn't do it, so I can only take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, there's so much processed food. It's just it's the easiest way to get shit out. Capitalism is taking over the world. Just maybe cook yourself some good food every once in a while to get that good, natural everything.
If you haven't eaten anything that hasn't come from a package in a minute, maybe just you have to take a vitamin, right? I don't like vegetables. Grow up, first of all. Cut up a bell pepper and eat that shit. Eat a piece of fruit. Just shove something natural in an orifice.
Well, and I know I have to be devil's advocate, because a lot of the texture of a lot of vegetables and everything, and people, if you have a thing with food, that's your own deal. But my sister specifically has a texture issue. I have sensory with my hands and stuff, so food doesn't bother me. But so I get it if things feel whatever weird eating. Hide that shit.
Blend it up.
Literally, you could make a spaghetti sauce and throw in fucking anything into it, and you probably wouldn't even notice it's in there.
Treat yourself like a toddler.
Quite literally. In a lot of ways, we've actually said treat yourself like a toddler. Why this? Why that? Go back to your basics. Learn from yourself. Just find it in yourself.
For sure. Chronic underfueling can also lead to metabolic adaptation. And this is when a chronically underfueled body adapts and gets better at operating with less energy. So a lot of times if someone's in a really long-term deficit, they'll say, oh, my progress stalled and I'm just not losing weight anymore. And that is because your body's TDEE has downregulated to the point where your deficit is now your maintenance. So then you have to do some gentle reverse dieting, get back up to your maintenance, let your body upregulate. And this is why you cannot live in a calorie deficit. You cannot always be in a fucking deficit. Your deficits, if you're going to go that route, should never be more than like 12 to 16 weeks. After that, you need to take a break. Take a 6 to 12 week break and then go back if you need to, like if you have that much body fat that you're looking to lose or whatever. Take a fucking break, because as a bitch who wasn't taking a break, let me tell you, like, it's going to get fucked up if you keep pushing yourself and underfueling.
Humans are supposed to be able to eat enough to fuel themselves to continue to do what we're supposed to do, and society has fucked that for everybody. So it's really hard to get it under control, but the biggest regret will be for you to not have started today, sooner. So just, even if it is for like, oh, right, well, this is a goal I have, so I'm gonna write this down. Just start small and work your way into it, and then that way you can start to recognize, like, oops, I didn't realize I was in a calorie deficit for the last very long time. So just kind of roll with it, but also don't let it stress you out too much. But just be aware. I'll say that again and again and again. I don't have anything else to add. Not that I really added a whole lot to begin with.
You did. So just the fast and dirty of a reverse diet. If you've been in a deficit and you're like, oh, maybe I should take a fucking break and fuel my body. This is where you gradually increase your calories so that your body can adapt to more incoming energy again. This needs to happen slowly, and you probably need to be tracking something, whether it's your food and your weight or whatever, to make sure that you don't swing too far the other way. The general guidelines for a reverse diet would be like to add 100 calories, watch your weight for the week at that extra 100 calories, and as long as your weight's holding steady or still like dropping down, then you increase again. You hold it, you monitor, blah, blah, blah. You do this until your weight begins to average at a steady rate, and that's your maintenance calories. And if your maintenance calories seem really low, you might even hold for like a week or two, let the weight be steady, and then like go up again 50 and like see what happens, because maybe you need to let your body adapt and upregulate if that metabolic adaptation in a downward direction was really aggressive. The last thing that I have to say, and this might piss some people off, if you've made it this far, you're tough enough to take it. I'm sorry to say this, but it's not your hormones. It's not your metabolism. Your metabolism didn't slow down. You did. Your BMR does not change until you hit about the age of 60. From maturity to 60, your metabolism is steady. So all those people who are in their like mid-30s and they're like, oh, my metabolism just doesn't work like it used to. No, you don't work like you used to. You're either not moving enough or you're eating too much. And even the worst case, and most extreme and rare cases of thyroid disease like Hashimoto's only impacts your BMR by about 200 to 500 calories. I'm not saying that thyroid issues, hormones aren't going to make something harder, but it's not going to make it impossible. If your NEAT is really low, if you're working an office job where you're just sitting all day and you're consuming and you're not eating well and you're not eating very naturally, like that's going to hinder your progress. And so I know on social media a lot I see like people wanting to blame an outside source, and it's easier to blame something than to look at yourself and go, I'm not doing what I should be doing.
Yeah, I'm not doing the thing. And also a good reminder, what you said about getting older and your metabolism is not the factor. You also can't compare yourself to when you were fucking in high school. Like, oh, well, when I was in high school, I was doing... That was fucking 20 years ago, my guy. Mm-hmm. It's not gonna... It doesn't matter. You are a different person than you were then. The only person you should be comparing yourself to in that sense of the word is you 2 weeks ago, a week ago, 4 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. No more than that, because at that point, it's a different person.
Well, I mean, metabolism-wise, so you can compare yourself to 20-year-old you, but 20-year-old you, I'm sure, was like out partying, doing shit, up and around all the fucking time. Like, I mean, think about how much more energy you
sure expended. As hell doing a hell of a lot more than I was doing I'm doing now than I was when I was 20. I mean, maybe working at a cafe, that was pretty strenuous.
Like a lot more steps.
But like, I'm going to the gym. I'm doing a lot more walking. My job is a little bit more sedentary, sure. But I have dogs too. Like, you know, my life is different 8 years later. So I don't know. But like, yeah, just not when I was 16. I sure as hell was doing a lot more when I was practicing 2 hours every 5 days a week for soccer. And it's a whole thing, you know?
Mm-hmm. So that said, your thyroid and your hormones might make an impact, but they are not going to make you the exception to the law of thermodynamics. So hopefully you made it through. I think you're tough enough to take it. I hope you're tough enough to look in the mirror, untie your worth from all these data points and accept them for what they are, which is points of data.
It's not going to happen overnight, but you have to start by pulling that ribbon a little bit. And then eventually, the more you pull on it, the more it just kind of falls away.
Mm-hmm. Untie the knots. It's kind of like with affirmations, like not to get a little woo-woo here, but like positive thoughts or affirmations or whatever, like every time a negative thought comes up, you're supposed to replace it with a positive one, or like forgiveness. And you're not supposed to, like, it's not something you're going to do once. You're not going to go, I am a being of love and light and I'm totally fine with this, just once.
And
no.
then,
You gotta do it every fucking time it comes up. Every single time it comes up. Every single time you see the number on the scale and it makes you like cringe a little, you have to do the work. Every time it makes you cringe a little, you have to, I am not my weight. I am not my I am not my body. I am so much fucking more than those numbers. I am, my body is the least interesting thing about me. You have to do that every single time it comes up until eventually one day it's true.
And I mean, at the end of the day, regardless of what the number is, your body is still pretty fucking incredible. It's doing it's keeping you alive. Mm-hmm. It's keeping your heart beating. So even if that's the basics that you start with, like you look at the number, you don't like it, be like, I am grateful for my body keeping me alive. I am grateful for my eyes that can see, or whatever it may be. Find little things within yourself that you do appreciate, and then start looking at the bigger things. I appreciate this. I am grateful for this, so on and so forth. I am not defined by this. Mm-hmm. You'll be all right.
That actually makes me think my two things lately have been like when I go to think something negative about myself and I'm like, you're going to talk shit about the body that works out for you, the body that gets you through work. And then if I like body check at the end of the day, and at the end of the day, I have food in my fucking body, like, and so I'm a little bloated, and I'll go to have a negative thought, like, oh, my body's so bad. I'm like, you mean the body that just ate? The body that is digesting food? You're going to sit here and talk shit about it? Like, are you okay?
Probably not, but that's why we question it, right?
Definitely not.
I don't have anything else that comes to mind. I wish you guys the best of luck if you decide to start anything like this. Obviously,
message us if you need some more support or you have questions about how to do this and how to like untangle, because I could yap about it all day.
Yeah, there's so much to add, but there's also we could just beat around the bush and say the same thing over and over and over again in different ways that make more or less sense by coming out. So next week we are going to be getting into our half marathon. Whoop whoop. So that is coming up this Sunday. So we're doing a little pre, during, and post interview op, whatever the hell you want to call it. Just kind of go over what we're bringing, what we're doing, how it's going, and how it went. So buckle up for that one. If you want to follow the show, you can follow us at Gym Girls Anonymous Podcast on Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, YouTube, all 9 yards. You can follow me at Ronnie.Hansen on Instagram, TikTok.
You can find me at Lainey Shipman on Instagram, TikTok.
What did you call those boys this morning? Because that was fucking hilarious. I was trying so hard to think about it.
Chuckle fucks.
Oh my god, yeah. So
I think that one's too mean for you guys.
Maybe, but like
alright, you chuckle fucks.
I knew it started with a laugh or something. It was pretty funny. They were hogging the whole machine and just kind of laughing. And I was which, like, cute, you guys. But also the one dude had a shirt that said "Stop Goon" or
"Never Goon."
Never Goon.
Couldn't be me.
Yikes. Why are we wearing that? Yeah, 12-year-old. He's like 17, but still.
I've never
what the
had such
hell?
beef with a 17-year-old. Like, I'm not gonna lie, this kid just like bothers me a little bit, which I'm not proud to admit, and I will never say this like out loud again. If you repeat this, I'm gonna deny it.
Deny.
Deny. All right. Well, anyways, my I don't know. I was gonna say lovely
Lovely
what
little
muscle
lifters.
well,
I don't know.
my lovely lat pull downs.
My lovely literal lesbians. I don't know. Every L word that could come to mind. Just
Oh, man. My pretty peck princesses.
Oh my god, we are fucking crazy. So give us some suggestions. I think I've said that every episode, and we've only had a couple posted. So
So, anyways, leave us 5 stars on Spotify, or
All
give
the
us a
places,
thumbs up
please and
on
thanks.
YouTube. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you next week. Bye.